Okay, we know what language we want to learn, but how do we get it? How do we set it up? Most books seem to think that you already have a language, or that they put some outdated instructions in the appendix of the book, way in the back. This shouldn't be that hard. Welcome to my channel. I'm Daryl, and this is Programming in Any Language. Today we're going to get some software. Before I do that though, however, I want to kind of show you the command line programming, what it's all about. That's programming without an integrated development environment, an IDE. It's ugly, yet it's doable. This will demonstrate why we want a solid IDE, an integrated development environment, as well as our language compiler. Take a look. No matter what programming language you start with, you're going to need two things. You're going to need the programming language itself and an integrated development environment, an IDE, we call those things. If you happen to choose Python, for example, you're going to get you're going to download Python language, and you're going to get an integrated development or an IDE called IDLE. That just comes standard with text. It's a text editor, basically. You could write your programs in a standard text editor, but you're going to want to use IDLE if you're working with Python normally. Java's no different. If you download Java, it comes with a variety of different. Well, it's a little bit different. Yeah, it is when I think about it, because with Java you can download Eclipse, NetBeans. And even the Android Studio are just a few of the IDEs that you can use for using Java. With Visual Studio C# from Microsoft, you get the language and the IDE when you download it. Pretty much standard. But like Python and Java, you could still write a program in a common text editor without ever using the IDE. Why would you want to do that? Not so sure you would, but let's take a look and see why that's going on. So I'm gonna actually, I've got my desktop right here. I'm gonna go ahead and open up Notepad. I've got that somewhere here. I'll just pop that open here, and here it is. And let's write a simple little program in C#. So I'm going to type in. Let's go right here and say, if I can type right, using static system.console. We're going to be using the system console to write a program here. I'm going to get rid of my glasses. I don't need them for this close-up work here. We're going to create a class called hello. And then we're going to start it off with a set of braces. And these braces, I like to put in two of them right at a time, so I can kind of, because you need the opening one, I need the closing one. So I put those together so don't forget to have one, otherwise the program's not going to run. And I'm going to put in I'm going to tab indent a little bit and say static void main. And that's going to create a main routine for my program that I'm going to be doing. And I'm again going to put in a set of braces again. So beginning at any one, I'm going to indent those a little bit. And I'm going to put one below the other. And inside here, I'm going to put in one line of code. And I'm going to indent a little bit. I'm going to put in right line. And I'm going to put in quote HELLO world. A big exclamation point there, end of a quote here, and parentheses, and the semicolon to end that particular line. That's a complete program that I've just written in C#. I'm going to save it now. I'm going to save it in I happen to have a folder off the side here. As you can see, I've got something called Sandbox, which has nothing in it right now. I'm going to go to that thing, and that's where I'm going to put this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save it as, go to that sandbox. It's already located in Sandbox. I'm just going to happen to call it, instead of a .txt file, I'm going to call it HELLO.CS for C#, and go ahead and save that thing. Now, what I've done so far is I've created a program that has a main in it. And you'll find that if you work with Python or you work with Java or whatever, all programs have main. If you have a bunch of routines inside your code and you start out your program, the computer is always going to look for the word main and start that module first, and from there everything else can execute. So it's common in Java, it's common in Python, common in C#, and so on. So we want to create this so it's the first thing that runs. I'm going to go one step further. I want to make a replication of this program just to show you how unnecessary a text editor is. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to hit delete and bring that line over, and go over here and bring this one and hit delete. And I'm going to hit another one and hit a delete. And let's say we'll just leave it like this. And another delete, and another delete, and another delete. And I've actually created the program now on one line, as you can see here. When I do a file save on this, I'm going to save this one as, I'll call this one hello2.cs. Just so we have a difference there. And I'm going to save it. Now what I've done is I've created this program, but in order to make it execute, I need to compile it. So I don't need this guy anymore. I'm just going to pull this off to the side. In fact, I can close this off, unless something's written wrong down here. I think I've got it all written right, but if we have some errors, we'll know that real quickly. There's my two programs, the two CS programs right now. I'm going to leave these right here because what I need to do is I need to go to my command prompt. I'm going to bring that in. I've got that on my other screen over here, so I'll bring that down. And I've got it already set up at the correct folder that I want, or that I'm looking at here. There it is. There we go. Let's make sure it's working. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and say CSC hello.cs and hit enter. That's going to create my exe file. You can see that on the screen right now. I'm also going to do the same thing with the hello2. CSC hello2.cs. Hit enter. And it creates a hello2.exe. Now, all I need to do at this point in time is I can go down here and I can say hello. Oops, I got to make capital here. hello. Hit enter, and I got a hello world popping up here. I can now do hello2. Hit enter, and it also says hello world. The interesting thing about this is when you looked at the code you just wrote in Notepad or whatever, the computer didn't care if the dots were there or anything at all. It just wanted to see the words in the correct sequence that you were bringing them in at. What the IDE does, it helps you format these things so we can understand it. Let's face it, it was a lot harder to read that one-line program than it was to read the multiple-line program. Although some of the words are maybe unfamiliar to you, but it's still at least somewhat like English in a way, and so it made some sense. Computer doesn't care. It doesn't care at all. So, but if you download an IDE, whether it's Eclipse for Java, or Idle for Python, or use the one that comes with Visual Studio, you're going to find that it's going to help you a lot. If you make mistypings or whatever, it's going to help you correct those things before you ever get to the point of compiling the program. So it's very important to learn. But that complicates everything for you because now you're getting this programming language, you're getting this IDE, which you need to learn. And the IDE can be complex. It does a lot of different things. And so we'll see that as we go through this thing. So this basically gives you the situation of what it's going to look like when you kind of do these things. So what I like to do now is basically I'd like to standardize somewhat on C# or make that the programming language we're going to start out with as our first one, mainly because well, when you start looking at the command prompt that we have right here on the screen, kind of boring. You know, you start writing code like that and it's going to be tough to get motivated to really kind of do this kind of thing. And if you get any Java book, any Python book, and many C# books, you'll find that often they start with the command prompt, and they have you do your programs there so you can learn how to create strings and integers and things of that nature, and write some code to make those things work. Kind of boring. By using C#, they bring in the integrated development environment, including the GUI, the graphical user interface that comes along with it. And you can use that right away to start creating boxes and labels and forms. And you can write programs that look like the kind of programs you're going to buy and use today. And that, I think, is a little more satisfying than what you might find when you start with Python or Java. Java and Python have that too. You can still do GUIs, but you need to get, what do I got? I got a little book here like Modern Tkinter. It's an add-on that you'd end up getting and putting in Python in order to make it work. For Java, you're going to use Swing, or you're going to use Window Builder in Eclipse to make GUIs to make that thing work, and it's an add-on. So you got a whole new series of things you need to learn in order to make Java or Python work in the GUI interface. So I kind of like C# as being the first language you might learn, because we can learn all the code, we can learn all the things it needs to do, and then get it to work, create nice programs that actually look good, and then from there go on to another language. It could be Java, it can be Python, it could be something else, Perl, whatever, and go from there. So next thing we need to do now is we're going to go ahead and download a language. You need to get it, download it. We'll get C#, the Visual Studio environment, get it from Microsoft, and we'll download it on our machine and install it, and you'll see the graphic user interface, and you'll see the IDE that comes with C# and how easy it is to make these programs work. So that's where we're going to go from here. No matter what programming language you're going to be using, you're going to need to get it from someplace. Back in the old days, we could go to the store and buy them. There's CompUSA, the number of stores that were out there. Today, you typically download it from a site. There's sites for Python, there's sites for Java, sites for all the languages, quite frankly. We're going to be looking at C#, so we're going to download C# today. We want to go to Microsoft's site for that. The easiest way to do that is to basically get onto Google and just type in something like Visual Studio Download, as I have here sitting on the screen right now. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take a look at Visual Studio Download, and if you look down at what I've already entered on the screen, I've got this one right here, Visual Studio Microsoft.com downloads, and that's probably what I want to grab. It's got, looks like it's got 2019 for Mac, it's got other things. We'll find out what we get when we actually get there. What you end up with, you get three choices. You have a community, a professional, and an enterprise version that you can get. Professional enterprise, they're a free trial, but you're going to end up paying for them in the long run. So you want to pick up something, the enterprise is what you want to get, which is free, and you get the full power of Visual Studio and C#, all the other languages come with it as well. So you get this one download. And this is roughly a 30-minute download, roughly, depending on the speed of your machine. So we're going to go ahead and get it. And we'll get the downloads coming in. I'll just click on the download right now, and it will pop up and run. So my installer is going up there, Visual Studio installer is popping up, and we should see the studio pop up in a minute. Here it comes. We're going to continue this thing, and here we go. Off it goes to the races. Brings in the installer, installs the installer. And now, just about now, we'll be ready to install Visual Studio. Now we're going to have a lot of options with Visual Studio. You really only need the Windows.NET pieces of it so you can create Windows applications in C#. You're going to see little extensions for Python and other things as well. Here they are right here, as a matter of fact. Here's the .NET desktop development. That's the kind of thing we want. But look at the other stuff up here. We've got the core editor. We've got ASP.NET. We might want to select that now. The Azure development, we might want to select that now. If we're going to get into that later, you don't have to. There's more stuff that's going to have to come down on your system as you get this stuff. There's Python. I do a little development in Python. It might be good to get that. The Node.js development, the Azure development, mobile with development with .NET. Here's the guy we really want, .NET desktop development. We've got to get that thing. Universal Windows Platform development might be a good thing to have. And desktop development with C++. I do a little bit of C++, so let's go ahead and get that. Mobile development with C++ is there also. Well, let's pull it in. There's others you can get too. You can get it all if you want. It's really up to you what you're looking at. There's some game development things, data storage, all that kind of stuff. But in general, as long as you've got the Windows.net piece there and a few of the other extensions, you're going to be fine with what you're actually pulling down. And you can always get these things later if you didn't get them now. So no problem. You can always go back into it. So let's go ahead and install this thing. This is where it's going to take a little while to do. We're going to speed past this real quickly. We'll get started, and then we'll go into our install. We'll go into the actual starting of Visual Studio as we get into this. So it's going to bring out a bunch of packages. I'm going to skip forward to where we got about 99%. We're at 1% right now, and once we've got that all in place, we'll go ahead and go ahead and install the package. So we're only doing a little about a 4-minute thing here, when it really is taking about 30 minutes or so. There we are. We installed it. We've got our 99% are all done here. It's done installing. We'll click OK on this. We're all set to launch Visual Studio Community 2022. So we're good with this. We can get rid of that. And it should be on our machine. So we'll go ahead and take a look at it and see where we can find it. So we'll hit our home button. And it's not up here. We'll have to go down and dig for it to see where it actually installed it. Look at all apps. Slide down there. There's Visual Studio 2019 and 2022. Notice the folder for 2022 and the start piece. I'm going to grab the start piece and pin to my desktop. And now I can easily start it up. Be on the second page here. Click on it and we're off to the races. And essentially, this is Visual Studio 2022. We got it installed. That's the most important thing. Now we can go on and create software, create our own apps. Okay, let's do this. Let's go ahead and create our first little Hello World app in Visual Studio just so we can see what it looks like. I'm going to jump in, I'm going to grab it. I've got it right here. Up it comes. Takes a little bit of time to load. It's coming from my other machine. What happens first when you get this? In fact, we'll just go through the thing. So I'm going to explain all of this and the IDE later in another session. But I'm going to create a project right here. I end up hitting the create button here. I want a Windows Form app.net framework type thing. I'll find it on here and I'll put it up here. And once I've got it up here, it stays there for any other application I create unless I change it. I'm going to do a next on this thing. It's going to ask me for a project name and a solution name and the framework and a place to put it. I'm just going to leave it here in these defaults that I've got right now, so I have them handy, and we'll go ahead and create the application. So Visual Studio is going to come up. Comes up my other machine for some reason. Let's just shrink this thing down so we've got it the right size. It fits on here. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I am going to change the scaling on this. I have multiple monitors, as you can see. And what I want to do is I want to get it restart 100% scaling on it so it works for all my monitors on here. So I'll just pop that in again. It pops up and runs. And there's our form with our tools and everything else we've got here. I'm going to kind of shrink this stuff down a little bit. So we've got some room here. I'm going to make my form a little bit smaller. Then I can bring these things in. I've got a toolbox on the side, which I'll be explaining down in the next session. I've got a Solution Explorer, and I've got a Properties window here. What I have here is my form, or my main place where the program is going to be written. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a button over here and put it on the screen. And I'm going to grab a label on the screen and put it up here. I'm going to change this button a little bit, change its properties to a little bit bigger so we can see it. And I'm going to go to the Properties window here and adjust its font so we can kind of see it much better here. I'm going to give it a size of 12. So I type 13. I want to give it a bold, and I'm going to give it a background. Let's leave it alone. We won't play any more with this thing. I'm going to go to the Labels button now and change its properties to auto size, and I'm going to adjust it and make it the same, or, roughly the same size as the label I've got here. I want to change its font as well, so I'm going to go down here and make it a 12 and make it bold. And I'm also going to go down here because I want that label 1 to appear in the middle of the text box. So I'll just click on this little piece over here down in this section here. Now it's all set to go. I'm going to actually do a little maintenance work here by formatting them, by sending them on the form horizontally and vertically. They're good to go right now. I'm going to take the label and I'm going to do one more little thing with it. I'm going to give it a border style of fixed 3D. And then I'm going to get rid of the label 1 that's sitting in there by deleting it. I'm going to change the name on the button to actually down here to do it. Oops, spell that right. That's a little better. And then I'm going to go into code. I'm going to actually change the name of this thing in code to BTN do it, so I can refer to it. And I'm going to change my label to give it a nice little name of called LBL OUT, out. Label out. And then I'm going to go ahead and double click on this button here to bring up the coding window. And up comes the coding window. It's a little large right now. You can see it very, very clearly. It's got a bunch of stuff in it that Visual Studio automatically creates for you. We'll explain all this later. I'm just going to type in now that I want my label out.text to be equal to hello world. With a big exclamation point on the end of the thing, and I'll put a semicolon here. And that's all I have to do to write my first program. I'll save it. Save all, and then we'll execute run here. I start, takes a little bit to compile, then the form will appear. There it is. I can click on the do it button, up pops hello world. That's all it takes to actually write your first program. We'll be getting into all the details in this. We'll look at fonts. We'll look at the buttons, the labels, and how you adjust these things, how you create the coding window, what all that's about in the next session. So you guys take care.